So, this is what I got for the Honda. It's a little Infinity Baselink Mini, 100 watt RMS, little tiny subwoofer. Let's see what she looks like. Some instructions. We got some wires, a little remote, mounts, a little more wires. And the unit. It's pretty darn heavy. Not bad. Remote has on and just a boost, sub level, so nothing terribly expensive. This little phone cord for that. Got our power ground turn on and some high level inputs, which is what I'm going to be using for this. Mounts, and let's see where the, oh, there's all the plugs in the back. Let's see what we got. Man, that thing's pretty heavy. Alright, looks like we got a 15 amp fuse. Plug in, got line in if we had it, remote, gain, bass boost, low pass filter, so that's nice, auto turn on. I may use that, would depend on, because that basically is when it senses speaker sound, it'll turn the bass on rather than using the turn on. And phase. Okay. Cool. Power protect lights. Not much to it. Pretty standard. Nothing impressive. But we got a little speaker in there. And we're going to see if that's going to fit under the driver's seat. Because generally I'll be the one driving this car. And this back driver's seat's going to be the farthest back. So if I'm carrying a passenger, they're going to be most likely sitting behind the passenger seat. So I'll put that under there so it gets kicked less. But that's pretty much it. Not much to it. Should have a pretty good power source back underneath the rear seat with the battery 12 volt converter that we have back there with battery power. And then I've got two speakers in the rear deck. I'm going to try to figure out where those speaker wires go, and we're going to tap into those for the feed. And that's going to be about it. We'll mount our little booster control somewhere, and we're going to see if this can help that poor little stereo, because it's loud enough, but it's squeaky. It's not there's no low at all. So I don't want a lot. I don't want it. This isn't going to be like my truck, but I just need something to fill in the bottom end a little bit. So that's what we're going to try to do today once we get awake. So there you go. Okay, so the seat is where I sit. I'm going to see. Oh yeah, I can go way up in there. That's very nice. Let's just make sure the seat can move without hitting it. It's all the way up. Oop, got a little air blowy thing there. Is it going to be worth turning it sideways to avoid that? Probably. Just to keep the air vent from getting blocked. Still not too bad. Not too bad. There we go. Let's put the seat all the way back and see where that ends up. Okay. Yeah, your feet will touch it. But this is actually not terrible. I'm surprised. That's the seat all the way back where my driving position would be, and this is pretty good. Yeah, head touches the ceiling a little bit, but yeah. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to turn it sideways like that, so we can keep the little ventilation duct unblocked, I believe is what we're going to do. Gonna put her in like that, which is basically as far forward as it can go up to this ridge in the carpet. That's gonna work out pretty well. Not too bad. Yeah, see where my toe touched it, but again, there's not going to be too many people in the back of this car, so I'm not too worried about it. And if they're going to be anywhere, they'll be most likely on the passenger side. So what I'm going to try to do with this is run the wiring into this and through, and then back to where I need to go to the power supply. And I'm going to try to find out where the source from the speakers go, if it's down this side or if it's on the other side, or how I need to pull those. I'm going to run those in there as well, and come out here right to where this little pigtail is going to be for my little power and ground and the speaker wire. So yeah, let's see what's in the trunk, or if there's any obvious pull. If there's any obvious speaker wires. Oh, and they are. And they go to each side. Okay. And that one goes up in there. Where's this guy go? Over there. Up inside. So, oh, there's the vent for the electronics, the electric motor cooler, or electric controller cooler. So yeah, we're gonna have to do a little bit of figuring on how we're gonna run the speaker wires. Where they go, I may end up having to tag into them right here and just run them across, and then down through here to get to where I need to go. But I don't think that'll be too bad. Tuck that guy under there. Tuck that guy under there. All right. So yeah, that's about what we're gonna try to do. I think I'm gonna start by pulling the front seat, which looks like 4 bolts. I know you could do 2 obvious ones up in the front, and then it looks like we got a couple of them back here. Then I have to pop this off, and that should expose the other ones. They look like 13 or 14 millimeters. See if we can pull that seat out, give me a little bit more room to work. Then we're gonna probably have to pull the back seat back out just so we can have some room to run the wiring cleanly. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, we got everything out. Nothing too bad. The usual, pop it up, pop off the clips. Everything's good back here. I got the main battery disconnect off. And now I'm gonna go into the back to see if I can find a hole to get through in here. I believe I can, but we have to disconnect all of this stuff, and these look like, unfortunately, standard Christmas trees. Yep, they are. There we go. Yep. Standard Christmas trees. Nothing special there. Alright. Got them all out of there. Okay, and the reason you had to do that is in order to get this off, to get through there, you had a Christmas tree underneath over here. So, pop him off, And now, yep, now we can get down through there because there's our trunk wire. So that's perfect. This is the whole battery and controller cable. That's it. This is the little battery box. So that's kind of cool. Interesting to see. Not much to it, really. And so, now we have a path for our speaker wires. Speaker wires really aren't much, but I think I've got something halfway decent. I found in an old box is this stuff, which is a nice single shielded cable with 2 wires in it, different colors. Hopefully I have, yeah, it looks like I'm going to have a couple of long enough sections to make the speaker wire runs. So I think I'm going to try that first, because that's going to be the easiest. I don't really see where these go. They go up into the header panel there. So I am just going to see if we can disconnect these. Yep. Then we're going to tie into them. I'm going to see if I can find the wiring diagram to tell me whether orange and blue or whatever is yellow and brown. I'm guessing the yellow is power. My guessing is the orange is power over here is positive. Mainly because, for whatever reason, they seem to use things that start with B, brown, blue, whatever is a ground. But we're going to check on that right about now, and then start running these speaker wires down into the cabin. Alright, well, I have found an option this car does not have. It does not have premium stereo, because that came with a subwoofer, which obviously this is missing. So from my digging into the wiring diagrams, I believe the blue and the yellow are the positive sides, and the brown and the orange are the negative sides on these. I guess orange being nothing but dark brown, brown being nothing but dark orange makes sense. So I'm going to start running those wires and see where we end up. Alright, got my wires run. Don't really interfere with much. It's not terribly pretty, but they're hooked up. Now we're going to turn the car on, check to see if the speakers in the back still work, since why cover it up if I've screwed it up?
On Eagle 98.1.
Yep. So that's good. I didn't screw the speakers up. Very good. So I guess now I can put this back together. Throw that piece back in. And we're kind of done back here, so that's nice. And then I guess we will move up front to running the power and the ground for the amp, which we got some good ones right in that area there. So that's what we're doing next. Alright, for the power and ground, I've run the power up here to the output of the DC-DC converter. I checked that, it's 12 volts from the battery, and then 14 volts when the car is turned on when this is active. I grounded it right to this ground because I figured, well, if that ground's good enough for the IMA module, it's damn well good enough for my little subwoofer. And then I just ran that over to the other side. I haven't shrunk wrapped anything yet. I got an airbag system fault because there's obviously a sensor in the seat. This yellow connector usually means airbag, so there's a sensor in the seat related to the airbags. But I just connected my power and my ground, got my right and left speakers hooked up. I did not hook up the on-off because I don't really have an easy way to get to something like that here. I'm sure there's probably a wire over there that I could tap into that's 12 volt on switched, but I didn't want to find out. So I've got it on auto on, and I did just test it a little bit ago, and it worked. I've adjusted nothing, so we're gonna have to get the car put back together. I'm not gonna bolt it in yet until I get my settings set, because having it turned sideways like this, I'm not really gonna be able to get at it when the seat's in. So I'm gonna leave it a little loose, and I can pull it backwards and adjust it and set it where it's supposed to be until I get it where I like it. The only thing left to do is run the little bass boost knob, which I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I don't even know where I put it. I think it's still in the house. But I'll probably put that up here near the CB somewhere, just because I'm already screwing stuff into this part of the dash, and go from there. But so that'll just be running, out like that. Good and easy enough, just to keep it fairly clean. But no, I'm pretty happy with it. We'll show you the turn-on sequence. Find the bloody key. Where is it? Come here. Yep, there she goes. That's it. On. Now we'll...
Verse 2. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. This one. Come on, Chicago. Riley going out of the line, a 2-2 pitch, fastball.
Alright, so it's not good and clear yet, but again, I don't want to get copyright strike. So I've got a lot of tuning to do with that, and I'm going to start putting everything back together in the back, because it does seem to work. And when you turn it off, it takes about a minute, and then it times out and shuts itself off. So I think that's going to work perfectly for what I want. Because again, it doesn't need to be too much, it just needs to be better than what it is stock. So there we go. Alright, got the car back together, got it vacuumed out, got all my wires zip tied and tucked away, all the parts back on. Again, this car comes apart pretty easy with a 10 and a 12. The seats are 14s or 15s or something. Nothing too out of the ordinary. What were they? Yeah, 14s. Real simple, no stupid special wrenches like you sometimes see on Ford and other stuff. On Mercedes or whatever with their triple square ridiculousness. Everything's pretty simple. So, I'm gonna get that seat back in there, plug it back in. I'm not gonna bolt it down, but then I'm gonna plug the amp in, play with it a little bit, get the sound where I think I want it. Oh yeah, I still gotta run the little adjuster module, so we'll play with that too. But then we will hopefully close it up. Alright, so we're done testing. The song I always use to test whether, a car stereo system is to where I want it is Bullet by the Moog, who is Moog of Marty and Moog of Mighty Car Mods. It is a fantastic song. As far as, well, I love the song anyway, it's just a great sounding song, but it has exceptional bass, but very good balance. It's not just a bass head track, but it's a really good one. And I ended up with, I think, the gain about 2/3 up, the bass boost about 2/3 up, and the low pass filter all the way up to 150 hertz, and that really seemed to fill it out nicely. Doing that allows me to tune the bass on the radio all the way down to nothing, and it's good sounding. And then if I want to boost, I can bump the bass up on the stereo, because what I found is ye olde bass knob, that power light is the brightest blue LED you ever want to see, and if I mount that to where it's anywhere in the front, I'm going to be blind when I'm driving at night. So I've decided to run it without that, because it doesn't really need it now that I've got it set up that way. I'm disappointed in that. I would have preferred a red light. Those blues are just vicious at monochromatic blue. But yeah, we did get an extra fuse with it. Hopefully we don't need it, but Now I think I'm just going to see if I can screw it into the floor and drive it through an electrical wire or something. Then we'll get the seat remounted and we should be good to go. But no, that's really good. For the size of this thing, I am impressed. Now granted, it's only 100 watts RMS, so it's not going to break your neck. It's not even close to my 250 bazooka in the truck with the 100 watt per channel amp on the 4 speakers. It's not even close. You turn this thing all the way up, it's loud, it's perfect. It's for what this car needs, but it isn't, it's not going to impress bass heads. But for filling out the stereo in this car, this is something that you need, and it can fit under this seat and still leave you some pretty good foot room in the back if you want to carry passengers. So I am very impressed with this little guy. And now I'm going to finish screwing it down. All right. Well, got her all done, got her all put back together. I'm happy with how it sounds. So, we're in good shape. Alright, so that's about it for this one. And we'll see what we've got to get into next time with this. I still have to take this apart and reset that damn needle. I have not done that yet. But I will at some point, and I'll show you how all this comes apart if you didn't see it in the first video, or I may not have even shown it in the first video. But this one will be a little easier. So, anyway, that's what we got going on now. Now the car sounds good. Well, inside. Outside it doesn't sound like anything. So, hope you're all having a good day. Take care.